Hello, boys and girls. It's time for our daily reading mini lesson. And as you know, the topic of this week is poetry. And specifically, we're looking at what makes up a poem. What are the elements of poetry? And we talked about in the lesson yesterday four things really. Four key things, but there's five in one altogether here if you look at it. So the elements of poetry, we have a line, which is a group of words arranged in a row. It's like a sentence. We have a stanza, which is a group of lines within a poem. It's like a paragraph. Rhythm and rhyme. A pattern of stressed syllables, that's rhythm, and rhyming words. And then repetition. Lines are words that are repeated in a poem. These are all core key elements of poetry. And what I want to do today is I want to go over them using the poetry that we have in our My View book, this chapter. It has some really good poems in it, and I can't think, from Butterfly, it's Butterfly Eyes and Other Secrets of the Meadow. That's the name of the text. And it deals with nature, as most of this, I think all this chapter in My View has. And that's a common theme for poetry, is nature. A lot of famous poets have written about nature. First one that comes to my mind is the one by Robert Frost, Path in the Woods. I can't remember. Now that I think about it. There's a famous Robert Frost poem about looking at snow-covered trees in the wintertime. I'm gonna have to look it up. Anyway, so a lot of poetry deals with nature. And today we're gonna look at poems about bugs and plants and that sort of thing. But what we're really going to do is we're going to look at these five elements and figure out how to pull them out of a poem. And it's so important to be able to do that, guys, because you have to be able to tell what's a poem and what's a book, what's a novel, what's a poem, what's a play. Okay, this first one is called Bubble Song. Oops. That. Bubble Song. So that's our title, Bubble Song. Beautiful bubbles, bubbles of pearl, all in a clustery, bubbly swirl. Bubbles I blow from my own bubble spout. I'll never come out. Beautiful bubbles, bubbles of foam, bubbly castle, snug bubble home, keeps my skin tender, saves me from drought. I'll never come out. Beautiful bubbles, bubbles of spume, guard me and hide me in my bubble room until I'm a grown-up and wings fully sprout. I'll never come out. Oops. What am I? Some sort of bug and bubbles there, huh? So what I want to look at is this poem actually has all five of these elements in it. So I look at these, and even just these two words right here, or these words right here, those are lines. That's a line. Group of words arranged in a row, like that, just like that. That's a line of a poem. Okay? It's just like a sentence. These all together, all these lines together form a stanza. That's a group of lines within a poem. That's a stanza. Oh, can't write off there like that. Do this. That's a stanza. And then this last one down here too, that's also a stanza. A stanza has the lines. Okay? And then, what else do I notice in here? Well, there's a rhythm, because beautiful bubbles, bubbles of pearl, all in a clustery, bubbly swirl, bubbles I blow from my own bubble spout. I'll never come out. You hear I say that? It's so important to have that flow and that rhythm when you're reading a poem. And I trust you also notice the rhyme of the poem. Because when I read, for instance, all in a clustery, bubbly swirl, bubbles I blow from my own beautiful bubbles, bubbles of pearl, all in a clustery, bubbly swirl. Pearl, swirl. Bubbles I blow from my own bubble spout, I'll never come out. Spout out. Beautiful bubbles, bubbles of foam, bubbly castle, snug bubble home. Keeps my skin tender, saves me from drought, I'll never come out. Beautiful bubbles, bubbles of spume, guard and hide me in my bubble room, spume and room. Until I'm a grown up and wings fully sprout, I'll never come out. Spout out, spume, room, home, foam. Those are all rhyming words. Remember, a rhyme is something that kind of the end of the word sounds the same, right? And then the last one here, repetition. Lines are words that are repeated in a poem. Well, that should be fairly easy to see. I'll never. And then I'll never. Makes me think of a petulant child. I'll never come out. But I also see the word bubbles, bubbly, bubble, bubbles, bubbles. I mean, it's called the bubble song. So obviously something's in a bubble, it's not gonna come out. That's what really makes me think of, because I'll never come out. And there's bubbles repeated. Both of those are repeated over and over in this text, in this poem. You see that? We just went through all those in just one poem. So line is just the group of words arranged in a row. Remember, a row goes this way. A line, it can have 2 words, it can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words. It can have anywhere from 1 to 25 words probably, depending on the poem. But we have a line, and then there's a group of lines that make up the stanza. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines. They all make up a stanza. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines make up a stanza. Same thing on the last one there. Then rhythm and rhyme. Remember, rhythm is just how you read it. You gotta flow along with what the author is, you gotta spit it out. Ba, 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 ba. It's like rapping. There's rhymes, okay? Not every poem will rhyme. And like I said in the lesson yesterday, a lot of poems do rhyme. And it's a common misconception that to be a poem, it has to rhyme. A lot of poems don't rhyme. They're kind of harder to read for some, and maybe that's because we all think they should rhyme, but there's some free verse poems that do not rhyme, and it's like, ooh, 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 ooh. And then repetition. And words are repeated to put emphasis on it, to help imagery, to help you figure out, oh, that's what they're trying to say. Okay? Let's go on, shall we? The next poem is Sap Song. And, I mean, you can look at the picture there, you can see an ant go, oh, that's probably going to be about what kind of insect? Kind of a long poem there. Can't really zoom out to make it. So Sap Song, I go up, I go down, from the roots to the crown, like a twin set of tubes, fetching water and food. In each stem that you see, there's a little of me, up and down, like an ant. I'm the veins of the plant. What am I? Well, it's probably sap, right? So, what's interesting about this poem is the way it's formatted. Because if you look at it, it's not like the previous poem where it had words or had lines, line, 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 stanza. This whole thing would just be one stanza because it's not separated like a paragraph like the other one. But it still has lines, guys. Because if you look, this is a line, this is a line, this is a line, boom, 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 boom. Right? What about rhythm? Well, I go up, I go down, from the roots to the crown, like a twin set of tubes fetching water and food. In each stem that you see, there's a little of me. There's rhythm, there's a little flow. I mean, you don't say it like I just said it, but I get caught up like trying to make rhythm for you guys. And there's rhyme, certainly there's rhyme, right? I go up, I go down, from the roots to the crown. So crown and down, like a twin set of tubes, fetching water and food. Well, now here's a question for you guys. Tubes and food, do those rhyme? Yeah, that's kind of the beauty of poetry too, is those aren't exactly rhyming words. However, they have tubes, food, that ooh sound, the double O, ooh, that's with tubes. So it's not it's not like food and dude, where it's not has the same kind of middle sound rhyming there with different letters at the beginning, but tube and food, it rhymes enough to work in a poem like this to make it sound like you're saying a rhyme. In each stem that you see, there's a little of me. So see and me. So is there a repetition? I go up, I go down, up and down at the end there too. I mean, not every poem's going to have hardcore repetition, but it's certainly an element of poetry. And then this last one here is not, that's more of an informational text. It's not a poem. But you know what, I'm going to read it anyway, just because it's interesting. Spittlebug and xylem and phloem. This explains the other poems there. Have you ever seen a small glob of phloem on a meadow plant? Inside that glob, you'll find a 1/8 inch long spittlebug. The nymph, young, form an insect also called a frog hopper. When spittlebugs hatch from the eggs, they lay on the stems and suck sap from the plant. In the spittlebug's body, the sap is mixed with chemicals, then excreted and blown into a froth with a special nozzle on the tip of their abdomens. Until midsummer, when the spittlebug matures into an adult frog hopper, it snuggles in its bubbly home, protected from predators, parasites, heat, and strong summer sun. So that's explaining what that first poem was about. The spittlebug, and his bubbles, and his froth, his phloem. And then the second one, spittlebugs suck primarily xylem sap, the sap that comes up from a plant's roots. The xylem and phloem vessels are like the veins of a plant carrying nutrients back and forth and helping to support the stem. Xylem tubes carry water and minerals upward. Phloem tubes carry the sugary food made by the leaves to all the parts of the plant. So that's what the second poem was talking about, the Sap Song. You know, they're out there sucking the sap up and goes up and down like veins. So tomorrow we're gonna look more at some more poems. Don't you worry. Oh, I can't wait to get to that one because it's interesting. But yeah, just check out the activities, what you need to do to complete this. Mark this activity as completed, guys. And once again, those of you watching the mini lessons, thank you. Thank you for doing the right thing. This is fun, important stuff, guys. Poems are fun. Poems can be cool. All right.